Good afternoon. This is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding, continuing our series on FBAR and Streamlined Procedures Non-Willfulness. Let's focus a little bit on the IRS Non-Willful certification. The certification is one of the key parts of making a streamlined disclosure to the IRS for unreported foreign accounts, assets, investments, and income. The certification is either on a Form 14653 for Streamlined Foreign or 14654 for Streamlined Domestic. But first, let's just talk a little bit about who may have to do a Streamline. So essentially, if someone was a U.S. person for tax purposes within the 3-year compliance period for taxes and 6 years for FBAR, and they didn't properly report or disclose their foreign accounts, assets, investments, and income to the IRS, unlike their tax return or other international information reporting forms such as the FBAR Form 8938, then they may qualify, if they're non-willful, for the Streamlined Filing Compliance Procedures. There are mainly 3 categories of individuals, and it's individuals that do the streamlines, estates and individuals, and that's U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, and foreign nationals who meet the substantial presence test. Now, in order to qualify for the Streamlined Filing Compliance Procedures, a person has to be non-willful. Taking a quick step back, with the Streamlined Procedures, there's 2 versions of the program. There's the Streamlined Domestic Offshore Procedures, Streamlined Foreign Offshore Procedures. They both refer to foreign accounts and assets and investments and income. Streamlined Domestic means the person's a U.S. person. Streamlined Foreign means that the person qualifies as a foreign resident. The benefits are, under Streamlined Foreign, you could file original tax returns, whereas Streamlined Domestic, you can only amend previously filed returns that were timely. And under Streamlined Foreign, the 5% penalty is waived. Under Streamlined Domestic, there's a 5% penalty on certain assets. So, assuming that the person is non-willful, when completing the form, how to prepare the form. Now, there's a lot of information out there. Different people have different ideas and concepts of how to submit the form. We've done thousands of submissions by this time, and so let's talk a little bit about preparing the certification form. We find what you should do first, like in any type of writing journey you're about to go on, you have to organize your thoughts, right? You have to outline. It's very easy to sit down and just start writing, but oftentimes people will hit roadblocks, mental blocks. When you're writing, it's good to organize your thoughts so that you have an idea of what you're going to be reporting in the certification as to the facts and circumstances. That way, you can kind of build those blocks, like in any type of outline. Another thing to keep in mind for anyone who writes, us included, of course, is your first draft is just your first draft, right? You may write your first draft and think, oh, I'm done, take a deep breath, a sigh of relief, sit back and relax. But that's typically not the draft that you're going to submit. It's good to sit on it for a day or two, review it, look at it again, read it from a new set of eyes, fresh set of eyes, have someone else review it. Typically, if you're going to be using an attorney, they would be assisting you in the process, and you have to be careful showing it to other people because of the attorney-client privilege. But, typically it's not going to be the first draft that you submit. And it's also important to have an accurate depiction of the facts. You don't want to write a fairy tale about what you wish the facts were because you think the IRS would like it. Because, with FATCA and more than 110 foreign countries and hundreds of thousands of foreign financial institutions reporting your information to the IRS, there's no knowing if they already have information on you, how long they've had it for, the extent of information, et cetera, et cetera. So it's important to have an accurate depiction of the facts. Just because your facts aren't the best facts doesn't mean that you're destined to fail by any stretch of the imagination, but it should be an accurate depiction of your facts and circumstances. A few common mistakes that we see here is when people overwrite the story. It's not supposed to be a 30-page dissertation. There's the department of people there, the agency examiners reading it, they don't want to settle in for the day and spend the whole day reading your certification. They have other stuff to do, right? It's got to be clear and concise. You don't want to overwrite too much. It's got to be enough that it's sufficient to get the point across, but if you're writing 5 or 10 pages, then you've gone overboard most of the time. You don't want to be willful but sorry. So when a person wants to do the streamlined procedures, they have to be non-willful. We have separate presentations and resources on non-willfulness. It's a totality of the circumstance, kind of nebulous analysis. But if you know you're willful, but you're sorry, you don't want to write that you're willful and had you have known this and that, because if you're willful, by definition, you don't qualify for the program. So if you're going to acknowledge willfulness in your certification, you're setting yourself up for failure. And when you're doing a domestic certification form, you have to calculate the penalty. For foreign, the Title 26 miscellaneous offshore penalty 5% is waived. For streamlined domestic, you have the 5% penalty. So it's important to not include assets that are not subject to penalty. And typically the 2 or 3 that we see often, individually owned real estate is not part of the penalty under most circumstances. You know, if you own it in a Canadian corporation, society, anonymous, things like that, then it could be different. But for the most part, individually owned rental real estate is not subject to the penalty. In addition, with Canada specifically, items such as RRSPs, RRIFs, and other pensions are not part of the penalty computation. If you go into the IRS Streamlined FAQs, there's specific language that you would include in your certification writing so that you can exclude the penalty. We have a lot more information about this stuff on our website. For some people, they may not qualify for the streamlined procedures, and if that's the case, there are other programs available. There's the voluntary disclosure program, VDP. That's for people who are willful. There's also the delinquency procedures. Some people might make a reasonable cause submission depending on their facts and circumstances. Like I said, we got a lot of free information available on our main website and our sub websites. You can always reach out and schedule a reduced fee initial consultation if it's appropriate to your matter and it's something that we handle here. Again, my name is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.